All right. Well, listen. All right. So,
Can we go back to the climate thing for a minute, though?
sure, sure. Yeah,
So
we got
one of the
time.
things that I think is really important, that's going to be very interesting, is that President Biden wants to replace the whole federal auto fleet, and replace it with cars that do not use totally, energy electric cars. He wants to replace it basically everything with electric cars, and he's estimating that's going to create 1 million jobs. In Detroit and other places, to be able to finally turn the auto industry back around and get it pointed in the right direction. So I thought that was very exciting. Personally, I'm like, this is great, and I think we ought to encourage this. I think it will make our streets safer. It will make our environment safer. It'll create jobs in the city that very much desperately needs jobs right now. So
Well, you know what else is going to do?
what's that?
Going to put out some really crappy used cars in like 10 years.
Uh,
Do you remember when we were growing up and it was like everybody had a used government car?
yes, I remember. Well, they used to have used police cars. That was the big thing
Yeah.
here in Philly. Everybody had
Well,
used police cars.
well, let me just tell you, I know all about the used police cars because my grandmother had one and my mother had one.
Mhm.
And let me tell you, bro, don't ever be that broke where you where you got to ride around in an old former Oakland police car
Mm.
because your friends will never let you die down. Let it die down. My mother come home, everybody hit the ground and say, "Uh-oh, the rollers." Oh, never mind, it's Mark's mama.
Man, it was actually kind of funny though. Back here, it was like all the young guys. Well, when I was coming up and I was a teenager and my early 20s, the young guys, because they were using the Crown Victorias at the time, and the guys would buy them. They had the lights, and they never took the spotlights off the side. So you gunning down 309, going way too fast. All of a sudden, you see this car in your back, and it's flying down there, and you just look at it, you're like, "Oh man, it's a cop! It's a cop!" The next thing you know, some young brother pulls by you, like looks at you and waves and keeps right on going. 'Cause it's not a cop. It's some dude you knew from up the way.
Bro, let me just tell you. I mean, oh my God, I don't know which car was worse. And first of all, let me just say, I'm not, my mom's was a single mother, so she had to do what she had to do, and she
Hmm.
did the best she could, and she tried to keep us in Catholic school. So shout out to moms for keeping a roof over our head and all of that. But but bruh, I'm telling you, man, that I don't know which was worse, the old Vega that couldn't make it up the hill to the school I went to, so we had to get dropped off at the bottom of the hill,
Hmm.
or the police car. The police car was fast, but I'm telling you, man, kids are cruel. 5-0. Nope, that's just Mark's mama. Po. Nope, that's just Mark's mama. I mean, Mark and Kev's mama. Let me not let Kev get off the hook. Speaking of police, that's what we're going to talk about in the next segment when we come back from break in a couple of minutes. We're going to talk about the report that's come out by Rebecca Reinhart, and got to get into that. And man, it's a mind blowing report. You have to read. It's like 80 pages, and the kind of detail that it goes into is it really ought to lead to some significant reforms. Council starts back today, right?
Hmm.
And one of the things on the docket is the Police Oversight Commission, which was voted on by the people of Philadelphia overwhelmingly in 2020 in the November election. Councilmember Curtis Jones, who is the head of public safety, is going to be introducing legislation. And I've got to believe the first report didn't get much traction. But the timing of this report by Reinhardt, and I'll post it to social media. I see Facebook is up. I'll put it into the chat. But when people read this, it's definitely going to have an impact on the key question to me around this new Police Oversight Commission, which is how do people become commissioners? Not just the composition, but how are they actually to become commissioners? Are they to be appointed by the mayor, by city council, or elected by the people of Philadelphia? And I don't know how anybody who reads this report will have any more confidence in elected officials doing the right thing by us with regard to public safety and policing. This is a clarion call, so to speak, as to why we need an independent police oversight commission that has nothing at all to do with city council or the mayor's office, with the exception of city council giving it birth and then getting out the way and letting it grow up on its own. So look, we got to take a break. It's 6:20. If you're on Facebook Live this morning, hit the share button for us. If you're on YouTube, hello over there. We're not going to just ignore you. And let folk know that you are here listening. This is the Power Hour. We'll be right back.
Today, millions of Americans face barriers to obtaining a college degree. But at WGU, we're setting out to change that. With a range of scholarships and grants aimed at expanding access to a quality education, making tuition more affordable, and giving students a path forward, we're helping people turn obstacles into opportunities. Because everyone deserves a chance to succeed. WGU, ambition never rests. Visit wgu.edu to learn more.
The onWURD Podcast. Check out the latest edition of the onWURD Podcast. Join WURD President and CEO Sarah Lomax Reese for a deep dive into everything surrounding the 2020 election. Listen right now using your favorite podcast service or visit wordradio.com/2020 in black. You can also ask your favorite device to play onWURD 2020 in black. WURD Radio. Independent Black Media.
Thinking about retirement? Make sure a My Social Security account is a part of your plan. A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can find out if you're eligible to receive benefits, compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates, view spousal benefit estimates, and more. Plan for your future. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, Independent Black Media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We are here Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and, of course, our opinion. Now, listen, we wanted to make sure we showed some love to our YouTube listeners, and so we want to say hello to Constance Stewart, who is out there, and Nikki Tim, who's out there as well. I know I just said that wrong. Forgive me for that. And all the other listeners out here, I know there are 10 people that are checking us out right now on YouTube, so give us a shout-out on there so we know that you're listening. We can shout out your name and deeply appreciate each and every one of you that are connecting with us each and every morning here on the Power Hour. We have to figure out a name for, like, the people that listen to the Power Hour on a regular basis. Like, you know, is it the Power Team, the Power Clan, something like that, so we can, you know, make sure that everybody was, you know, part of us and a part of our team. Maybe get some Power Hour T-shirts or something like that.
Well, let's not use the word clan.
We need to claim that name. We need to take the name back. You know how I am about, like, words. We need to claim words back.
That's a name that you ain't gonna never
Or
take
the
back.
Power Tribe. How's that? The Power Tribe.
Well, Power Rangers. That's never been used before. Our people. Y'all want to get funky? Hey, so listen, man. Here we go. So if you have access to the internet, please go to the office of the Comptroller of Philadelphia. I'm going to post the link to the report right now in social media. And there it is. Boom. So you got it right there. And you can read it for yourself. This report is very, very, very important. And it's not just simply descriptive of what happened in June with the police response to what started out as peaceful protest in opposition to the killing of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor in particular, and also Ahmaud Arbery. But it goes into some prescriptives, like this is what you need to do to prevent this from happening again. Now, let me just say at the outset that I have a real problem with the Inquirer this morning. So the Inquirer, their headline on the front page is "Report lays blame for tear gas," and it clearly says in the top line, Police Commissioner Outlaw sought to use it, talking about tear gas, against protesters, and Kinney went along. Investigation finds. Now this is a story by Inquirer reporters, and it details the fact that Kinney, did not try to stop Commissioner Outlaw from using tear gas and went along with it. Now you're a strong mayor, right? And in a strong mayor, you have the ability to stop anything and shut that down. You could have told her, if you use tear gas at any point, then you'll be terminated. Let me add that the report also brings out that when she was interviewed for her job, it was no secret that she had used tear gas before in her previous position as chief in Portland.
That's right.
And when asked about it, she said,
part of the problem in Portland.
Well, right. It's right. So, but was asked, would you ever use it in Philadelphia, given the fact that we have not used it since the MOVE bombing? And she said that I would not rule it out. You know, you don't want to rule out using any tools that are in your tool belt, but I would not do it unless, given approval or buy-in from the mayor, that the mayor would have to be in support of it. This is in her interview. So you hired someone and you knew then their position on tear gas, all hell breaks loose. And as the mayor, you're like, hey, I ain't in it. Do what you think you need to do, what's best. Okay. And so, tear gas is deployed. And this is what the report brings out. Now, the Inquirer's story begins with, again, the mayor went along with this. But the Inquirer editorial board then publishes a scathing editorial that says that Kinney must ask for the resignation of Commissioner Outlaw, who's now one of two black women who head police departments nationwide in big cities. There were 5 when she took the job last year. 3 are gone. The one in Phoenix is catching hell. She'll be gone soon. And if Outlaw's gone, that's basically none. Now, I'm not trying to, make excuses for anybody, but what I'm trying to say is that if you're going to call for the resignation of the police commissioner as the Inquirer board, and your own paper acknowledges that the mayor, her boss, went along with it, I mean,
and you got to call for the boss's resignation too.
Right. So the mayor should resign and also take the commissioner and the director of OEM, who's the fire chief, who they also blame in this report. So the fire chief, nobody calls for his resignation. The mayor, no one calls for his resignation. Brian Abernathy, who's also complicit in this, according to the report, he's left already.
Right. He got canned.
And so the black lady has to go, but the 2 white guys get to stay. Does this sound familiar to anybody?
This is sin, man. This is sin. It's like the black woman becomes the fall person for everybody else.
Yeah. I'm like, look, I get it. I mean, this is all we work on. But I'm like, but if it is so egregious that somebody needs to be fired, then the person who ultimately approved it, you can't be the mayor in a strong mayor setup and then walk away saying, I had nothing to do with it. Right. And so, in fact, let me just go to the report. On page 68 of the report, this is what it says, because this is really, really important. It says, moreover, the mayor's lack of leadership and accountability can also be extended to his decision to allow the police commissioner alone to make decisions regarding the use of CS gas during the demonstrations. The report explains that during her interview, and I already talked about that, but it goes on to say each of these issues contributed to the lack of leadership and accountability, and as a result, the city's failure to plan for the unrest. Check this. Now, this is where you got to pay attention, everybody. Because do you remember Donald Trump? You remember that guy?
Yeah.
What did he say when Congress wanted him to sit down for an interview during his impeachment the first time?
He said no.
But he also offered an alternative, didn't he? What did he say he would do? He said, I'll give you, interview? He'd write his answers.
Oh, well, he wouldn't give me the question.
Well, right. Give me the questions, and I'll send you written responses. Check this out. Listen to what Donald Trump's biggest critic, Mayor Kinney, said when he was asked to interview. It's notable as well to say that Danielle Outlaw sat for the interview during this investigation. But here's the report, page 68 at the bottom. It's also worth noting that the mayor declined to participate in a meaningful interview with the investigation team. Instead, he relied on his subordinates to take responsibility for such significant decisions. These inactions demonstrate a lack of accountability, transparency, and leadership. At a time when our city needed bold action and leadership, we were met with complacency. But the Inquirer says he should fire her, but he gets to stay.
Because we don't have a capability of doing a recall of the mayor. And so we could say to the mayor, oh, Mr. Mayor, you need to resign, but there's no mechanism to force him out of office. None whatsoever that's legitimate and legal in the state of Pennsylvania. Although Philadelphia does have a recall provision in the city, I can't think of the word. The city home rule charter. It was preempted by the state that says that no elected official in the state of Pennsylvania can be recalled. So therefore, he cannot be recalled. So we don't have any provision other than to wait out his term. We can't even, I mean, city council could censor him, but they can't do anything like impeach him or anything like that. So we're stuck.
Yeah, but I'm like, so, and again, trust me, this is like as serious as it gets, I mean, it's a blessing and a miracle that, that what happened with the police violence on the community was not worse. And as Shamika says on Facebook, another example of leadership lacking accountability. Let's see, Kenrick says, I'd have more empathy for the commish had she made more WURD and Man Up Philadelphia appearances as promised. Yeah, well, definitely got to get around more. I mean, it's and some of it's COVID, but you can't put it all on that. You got to be active in the community. People have been saying that from the beginning. And again, listen, this is on her for deploying tear gas. But if you are the mayor, you must say that under no circumstances do you ever do this. And if you do this, this is a deal breaker, and I'm going to ask for your resignation. But that's not what happened. And so again, it's like me letting an assistant preacher at my church take the fall for something that I allowed to happen.
Right.
Now, if you did it and I didn't know, that's one thing. So that's just like literally like one part of this report. It goes into the use of CS gas. It also talks about the failure to effectively respond to looting in Parkside, Center City, and other Philadelphia neighborhoods, and the disparate ways in which that was handled. And there is a powerful section under race and policing in Philadelphia. And I just want to read this one section. The investigation further outlines the many tactical and administrative shortcomings that led to inconsistent policing that violated the trust of the public. In particular, the aggressive militant policing in West Philadelphia stood in stark contrast to the lack of response during much of the looting in Center City. I can attest because I was in both of those places, and it's true. Also, and the well-documented instances of excessive force in mostly Black neighborhoods or against pro-Black Lives Matter protesters clearly differed from what appeared to be a friendly relationship with mostly white vigilantes in Fishtown and South Philadelphia.
Yeah, do you remember when they were down there trying to protect the Columbus statue, and the police were like letting them just do whatever? And then the white mob that was roaming through Fishtown looking to beat people up, nobody did anything. And then we have to ask ourselves the question, why Black folk don't like the police? We're going to attack, we're going to jab, we're going to go after, protesters, people who are exercising their First Amendment right and have a right to express their dissatisfaction with civil employees, i.e. the police department. And they have every right to be able to express their dissatisfaction with that, considering the fact they pay their paychecks when they pay their city wage tax and pay, other taxes that they have to pay here in the city of Philadelphia. Every time they want to get a Coca-Cola and got to pay $20 They are paying taxes, that are paying salaries here in the city of Philadelphia, and yet they will, like you said, be buddy-buddy with the white supremacists that are in Fishtown and South Philadelphia that don't want black folk to have anything and are okay continuing to hold up images of oppressors, those that were responsible for mass genocides, but they don't like black people.
Well, as Ant Young says, and he's right, it sounds like the siege on the Capitol.
Yep.
Here, can you take this picture of me standing in Pelosi's spot? Sure. But would you leave after that, please? Yeah, man, but I just want to get one more picture over there on Schumer's desk. Okay, come on, guys, come on. That's enough. Yeah, what happened at Marconi, at the Marconi playground area and the Columbus statue was every bit what we saw at the Capitol. And I mean, it's almost like a mirror image what happened in Philadelphia between the treatment of black protesters and supporters of Black Lives Matters versus what happened in these white areas. And I mean, and this is the problem. And so I want to say, as the solution, again, and the report actually suggests this as well, it talks about the fact that the community is calling for an elected police oversight commission.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you just cannot expect that politicians, elected officials are going to do right. You just can't. I mean, mayors and city council members, they are balancing a lot of other kind of concerns that often have nothing to do with you and me and our safety. And the decisions that were made back in the summer put that on full display. I don't know what the mayor was thinking. I don't know what his concern was. I mean, again, and I know it's easy to say, well, this is all on the cops, but right now the cops are under the direction of the mayor. And so you can't just talk about the police, because police do what people allow them to do. And so we need a police oversight commission that ultimately has full responsibility of policing, that is elected directly by the people of Philadelphia. And those people are held accountable for one thing and one thing only. That is the policing of this city. We're not going to elect you to get into school politics and into union politics and all the other kind of things.
Except the FOP, but yes.
Well, except the FOP. But I mean, but all these other kind of concerns that mayors have and city council members have that oftentimes get in the way of doing what's right by us, the people who are on the receiving end. There's a part in this report that goes back to things that black folk were saying in 1958 in Philadelphia that sounds just like 2021.
There's probably stuff black folk were saying in the 1860s that still sounds like Philadelphia in 2021. I mean, this is first of all, this is a very important conversation that we have to have. And, one of our listeners did point out, it feels like, Philadelphia is just falling apart. Problem with the COVID situation, problem with the policing, the school district's challenge. Philadelphia City Council is, doing all kinds of stuff. And I wonder if this isn't a moment for a reboot, right? To really think about democracy in a new way in the city of Philadelphia, to be able to make some new changes, get political leaders with very different imagination about what Philadelphia is, people who aren't bought into the traditional system here in Philadelphia, but are actually thinking about politics very differently and are really wanting to represent or be representative of the communities that they come from. I'm challenged oftentimes by the political class here in the city, who I think in many ways are often very out of touch with their constituents in terms of what their daily lives are like. So that's not all of the political leaders, but it seems like there are many that are more concerned with the plutocrats or the business class than they are concerned with the masses of people that live and struggle in this city on a daily basis. I don't see, I know there's supposed to be a poverty plan, and that's happening around Philadelphia, And, you know, the only thing that's really helped the poverty plan right now were stimulus checks and the unemployment that actually helped it to reduce the poverty rate temporarily until all that stuff goes away. And, well, it went away already, and we've already seen an increase in the poverty rate as a result of the fact that the unemployment extra bonus from the unemployment went from 600 down to 300 and then down to nothing. So, you know, I think we're going to have to like ask what our real priorities are in this city. Are our priorities the people? Are our priorities, you know, politicians keeping their jobs?
Well, listen, and look, we're so far beyond that. I mean, what's so disappointing in what you just said is that it'd be one thing if these out of touch elected officials that you're talking about, especially some on city council, and we do have some who are like really on fire about these issues, and I'm just thankful that they are there lifting up community concerns and fighting the hard battle against their own colleagues. I won't call them out by name because their job is already hard enough, you know, because people are always looking at them like, why you got to try to show off, stand out, just come on, be back here with us. But what's disappointing is that a lot of these folk are black. Who come from the hood. I mean, these are not strangers. And, you know, it'd be one thing if you grew up in the Northeast and you don't understand our concerns. I get that. It's still your responsibility to learn. But I'm talking about folk who know and yet still do exactly what you just said. Take the side of developers, take the side of business. And look, we got to have all of that in the mix. But there is no way that you can sit in those positions and then allow the mistreatment of our community the way that you do. That lady who turned that corner that night, I mean, you know, the most of the acts of violence that I saw during the protests were police beating up people. And I'm not going to say it was just all one way. Yeah, there were some people who were wilding out too. And they were not a part of being a part of protests, peaceful or otherwise. But the vast majority were officers who were taking advantage of their position and beating the hell out of people, like the woman who turned the corner. There was no due process in that moment. I saw the video. You saw the video. Her van turns. They don't even take the time to find out or assess who she is. They immediately attack the vehicle, break all the windows out like a mob and thugs, pull her out, beat her teenage nephew up, and then put the baby in the arms of a white lady cop and then post a picture on FOP websites around the country talking about this poor child was lost and this great officer, you know, took her in her. I mean, are you crazy? So we got to take a break. I know we got to take a break. And Ethel and Baylor, I think what the point we were making about, we agree with you, all unions face scrutiny. We were saying that the new Police Oversight Commission should only have to worry about their relationship with the FOP because the only job that they need to do is to work, expressly with policing. That's all we're saying. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation.
I'm Anthony McGlaughlin. Been denied insurance? Call 215-782-8574. Life insurance, age 0 to 85, no examination needed. Homeowners insurance, any home, any condition, same-day coverage. 215-782-8574. Auto insurance, we can have you covered in 15 minutes. Business insurance, call 24 hours a day, 215-782-8574. I'm Anthony McGlaughlin. When you need insurance, I can help.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in the country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager. And Tony Staten Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
Livelihood, the new initiative from WURD Radio, connecting Philadelphians to jobs, entrepreneurship opportunities, small business resources, and financial literacy. Visit WURDworks.com right now and take the next step in your professional journey. Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network. The WURD Radio newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting WURDradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio newsletter. Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Indeed.com. Looking at the Schuylkill Expressway westbound, getting heavy University through 30th through the construction. Eastbound side, not bad yet. Westbound Vine Expressway, some slowing from 8th Street through Broad. Again, Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. 95 southbound jamming Cotman down the bridge through that construction. Again, Allegheny through Girard. Northbound moving fine. Boulevard, Route 1 southbound. Somali picks up a bit from 9th Street down through Fox. 55 northbound Deptford into 42 now. A slow ride there. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed delivers quality candidates so you can focus on interviewing people with the right skills. Receive a $75 sponsored job credit when you upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply. For more traffic information, log on to SigAlert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a WURD weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
Get ready to bundle up. Cold, gusty winds today, and temperatures will feel like they are in the teens for most of the day. This morning, mostly cloudy skies will clear out this afternoon with sunshine. A high of 33 degrees will feel like it's in the low 20s. Colder air moves in tonight, 19 the low Friday morning with the wind blowing. It'll feel like it's in the single digits. Just 28 degrees with winds gusting to 40 miles an hour Friday afternoon. That 28 will feel like it's in the middle teens. A very cold night Friday night, 16 the low temperature. Again, with the wind, it will feel like it's in the single digits Saturday morning. Sunshine and 31 Saturday afternoon. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley with your most accurate forecast. Count on it.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. Great conversation this morning, listening to the lessons learned from the controller of the city of Philadelphia, Rebecca Reinhardt, in a recent report. And Dr. Tyler was the co-chair on the community panel that was reviewing this report. And he was sharing a lot about what was happening, taking a look at the civil unrest that occurred here, or what we in the movement like to call the uprising, that occurred here in the city of Philadelphia, both around Walter Wallace and then earlier in the summer after the killing of Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and George Floyd. So appreciating you giving us that insight, that information. This came out yesterday, literally hot off the presses.
Yeah, it's on Rebecca Reinhardt's webpage, the city controller. And, you know, it also demonstrates the power of elected office when you use it right.
Right.
So Rebecca may not have the ability as the controller, which is basically the auditor, to do anything. But these reports are extremely helpful. She's done this around gun violence and other things as well. And, you know, people say, well, Rebecca's just trying to set herself up to run for mayor. I mean, that may be. And if she does, then that's fine, too. But there are a lot of people who have held this position before her who never thought of using it in these kind of creative ways. I mean, who knew that you could get this kind of information from an auditor? Right. You think of an auditor as just a person who's counting or seeing what's been spent. But, you know, this is about taxpayer money. And, you know, this brings us back to the defund argument. So, and by the way, Asa Khalif posted, if you're on Facebook Live, take a look. He's talking about his experience this summer, the protests that he organized, and a reporter was there. They were bum rushed by the cops before they could even get started. He's kicked in the head twice, and I believe it because I was at almost everything in these stories. I was there. I wasn't at 676 because I was a part of a community meeting of folk trying to get a handle on what was going on. I was being texted the whole time, and up until the time it jumped off, it was actually great from everything I was getting. They were like, oh man, it's beautiful, great scene out here, marching downtown, it was lovely. Then all of a sudden it's like, you know, the apocalypse just happened. But in Center City, we were there Saturday night, we were there Sunday. You know, I remember, like I said again, tear gas canisters coming over the tops of buildings into residential neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
People were out, the people next door to us where we were standing, me and other clergy, Reverend Abby Tennis, clergy caucus co-chair for Power, Reverend Damon Jones, a Bible Way Baptist, Reverend Nick O'Rourke, Working Families Party, Reverend Keon Garreau. Again, we're just clergy standing there, keeping an eye on things, and man, tear gas canisters just come flying over the top of a building.
Wasn't a birthday party happening on one of the porches?
Next door. They were like, man, the kids, they ran under the house. Just indiscriminate use. They could have killed somebody out there.
I mean, so a lot of people don't know, actually, while you all were there, I was actually watching from a distance because I was doing the controlling because I was actually down in Maryland at the time. And you know, you all had cameras going, and I'm like, there was absolutely nothing happening on that street. The only thing that happened was that there was a bunch of clergy on the other end of the street, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, why is there smoke? And why are there cans flying? They're shooting tear gas at you. And literally, you had just said, because you were on Facebook Live, you had just said, oh, look, here's a family out here having a birthday party, and the police are down the other end of the street. And then all of a sudden, tear gas cans start flying in a residential neighborhood for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And I wonder if the city's going to pay for the counseling for the trauma that was caused to those little children at that socially distanced birthday party that was on their front porch. I really want to know.
Man, you know, that's a great question. I mean, we have so much work to do. Let me just say this about the Police Oversight Commission. Because I want to make sure I get this in. So as we're thinking about what this commission should look like, we have this idea within Power Live Free. We're casting our own vision. I don't know what Councilmember Jones is going to present, but I know he's heard from us. He's taken a lot of recommendations from us, the defenders, what they've been presenting as reform and other things. But we think that we should have, again, an elected board, you know, elected commission that'll have oversight, but they should have at least 5% of the police department's budget, at least. Now that would give them, you know, 30, 35 million bucks to work with and to hire a ton of investigators who are qualified to do things like, hi, I'm Asa Khalif. I'd like to report that we had a protest and the cops came and broke it up and kicked us in the head. Really? Let's get to the bottom of it. Well, we have a team of investigators who can actually look into it and investigate it and have the tools. And that's what you need because, again, you know, we have a lot of people on this police force that just hate black people. They hate Jewish people. They hate queer people. They pretty much hate anybody that doesn't look just like them.
That's right.
And they're on our police force. They post on social media. They wear swastikas as tattoos. They think what happened in D.C. didn't go far enough. They're down with that. And we cannot root all of them out. And so you need somebody who's going to hold them accountable. And if you think that the current system is going to let you hold them accountable at any point, or some appointed board by city council is going to hold them accountable, then, you know, I got a couple of bridges across the Delaware I want to sell you.
I mean, let me just say, you know, this is how deep this goes. I don't know if you remember this, but when after Ross left as police commissioner, they put an interim police commissioner in. It was a white woman, so the first first woman to lead the Philadelphia Police Department. There were pictures of her in her early days as a police officer, hanging out with groups of folk, other police officers that basically were anti-black. I don't know if you remember those.
She had a T-shirt on, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong, so forgive me if I am. But the T-shirt, it had something to do with making light of what happened to Rodney King.
Yeah, that's right. And so, but, you know, she was called out for that. The mayor and everybody dismissed it, including McNesby. Everybody dismissed it as, like, you know, not a thing. So, I mean, when you don't take that seriously, when people don't have to be held account, it might have been like, and here's the thing, people could have just said, I was really young and dumb then. I've learned a lot. I've grown since then. My policing career will reflect that, but instead they just don't answer and don't address it and don't, really deal with it. And they wonder why black folk don't have any respect. We're expected to beg and kowtow to the police, but they will not do the same to the citizens of Philadelphia that pay their paychecks. And I have a problem with that.
Hey, right. So real quick, because I know we're up on the end, Kiera Gray, our chief public defender, she don't forget anything about this stuff. The T-shirt that the former, the interim chief had on, like you just said, it said LAPD. It was an LAPD shirt, and it said, "We treat you like a king."
Wow,
that's not good. Either Martin Luther King or Rodney King. Neither one.
Either way, no good.
Yeah.
No good.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to pick up this conversation on tomorrow.
Jeez.
You are listening to the Power Hour with Dwayne Royster and Mark Kelly Tyler. Thank you, Kuesa, for holding it down on the boards today. Thank you, everybody, that checked in both on YouTube and Facebook Live. Thank you to all of our live listeners out there listening over the airwaves and those checking us out through other means, especially the WURD app as well. So to the Power Tribe, we say thank you. Listen to Wake Up with WURD with Solomon Jones coming up next. Go out, change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.